After 10 years of heartbreak, she vanished. What she left behind is truly life-changing. In the heart of Milltown, whispers spread like wildfire. Sarah, the town's rock, the nurse who patched up bodies and mended souls, simply disappeared. No goodbyes. Just a note that read, "Find me." Her absence hit the town like a thunderclap, a symphony of uncertainty playing in the minds of those who thought they knew her. She was the one who always knew everyone's names, but now, not a single neighbor knew where she had gone. Tears filled her children's eyes, echoing the hearts of the townsfolk who felt the air grow heavy with grief. Each day before her disappearance was a careful choreography, juggling her job with the demands of being a single mom. The scent of antiseptic danced in her clothes, a silent reminder of lives entrusted to her. She gave everything. But beneath her warm smile lay buried grief for her husband, a veteran who never came home. Sarah's laughter masked a mountain of loss, and as her kids clung to her more tightly than usual, the weight of unspoken burdens filled the air. But she had dreams, a love for painting that used to light up her eyes. The community barely recognized her struggle, and they certainly weren't aware of her secret nights spent with brush and canvas, pouring her heart out onto understated masterpieces. Then, almost inexplicably, she vanished. An unthinkable act against the backdrop of small-town life, where shattered glass didn't just crack, it shattered. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As her neighbors strapped on boots and searched fields and alleyways, they began to discover more about the woman they thought they knew. Her neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, stumbled upon boxes in Sarah's attic, dusty yet vibrant. Surrounded by her children's old drawings were Sarah's paintings. Colors splashed like sunlight through rain clouds, each brush stroke a cry for release. Whispers turned to conversations, discussions about how they had taken her for granted. Faces once held high in town pride now furrowed with sorrow. People started confronting their own routines, questioning what they sacrificed in the name of normalcy, and whether they ever truly saw Sarah beyond her duties. Every week turned into a month without Sarah. Tension ebbed and flowed, splitting the community. The despair that had once tied them together felt like a chain, dragging them down. Some clung to the idea of American resilience, believing they needed to protect the memory of their friend by holding on to the image of her dutiful life. Others started whispering about what could be left unspoken, wanting to honor the true essence of who she was. Then came the day the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across Milltown. Deep in her forgotten attic, they uncovered the masterpiece. An unfinished canvas that captured raw, unfiltered emotion. As they gazed upon Sarah's work, questions hung heavy in the air. Had they ever truly understood her struggle? And what they would do with the truth of her secret life, now resting in front of them. All that remained was a flicker of hope piercing through the despair, urging them toward understanding, while a new chapter beckoned in the depths of the unknown. The sun dipped lower, its orange glow spilling across Milltown as the townsfolk gathered in Sarah's attic, eyes wide with wonder and disbelief. The unfinished canvas stood before them, its colors vibrant yet sorrowful. Each stroke revealed a piece of herself that they had never truly seen. It was as if she poured her soul into this work, a silent scream captured in shades of blue and streaks of bright yellow. Mrs. Johnson stepped forward, her fingers shaking as she reached out to touch the edge of the canvas. Tears pooled in her eyes. I never knew. She was so much more than just a nurse, wasn't she? Her voice quivered. The others nodded, a collective realization dawning upon them. They spent the evening huddled together, unraveling the stories behind the pieces they discovered. Each painting told its own tale of hope woven through despair, vividly capturing moments of grief and joy. Every color, every brushstroke felt like a heartbeat. At that moment, They began to understand the real Sarah, a woman who gave so much but felt so alone. As the hours passed, stories turned from what they lost to what they could gain. Conversations shifted from whispers of sorrow to murmurs of transformation. Jake, who'd always carved pumpkins at the festival each year, spoke up. "What if we held an exhibition? We could show her work to everyone. She deserves to be known for this, her life beyond nursing. It's time we celebrate her." A spark ignited in the room, a flame of determination. They began to brainstorm, excitement weaving its way through the somber air. The exhibition would honor Sarah, a place where her spirit would breathe, a canvas for the town to connect, to feel, to understand. It was more than an exhibition, it was a lifeline thrown to a drowned community, a promise to seek out the hidden stories of others. But the question still lingered: would they be able to find her? The canvas, with its raw vulnerability, became a symbol of their hope but also of their unfinished journey. How could they bring Sarah back? And would she even want to come back? As evening turned to night, the town mobilized around their mission. Flyers were made, calls were sent, and words spread like wildfire. They wanted to spark something bigger than just an exhibition. They wanted a movement. An opportunity to make sure no one in their community would ever feel overlooked or unseen like Sarah had. But even as hope surged through Milltown, a cold reality loomed. Unknown to them, Sarah was out there, grappling with a world far different from the one she left behind. Was she even safe? Was she waiting for them to find her, or had she chosen to embrace the silence that wrapped around her? With that thought, the question hung like a bittersweet note in the air. Would her art be enough to lead them to her? And what would they discover about themselves along the way? As they looked at Sarah's unfinished masterpiece, one thing was clear: this was only the beginning of a journey that would transform them all, unraveling truths they never sought. But would it be the truth they expected? The answer awaited them just ahead. The next morning, a sense of urgency hung in the air. Milltown flooded with volunteers ready to embark on their mission to find Sarah. The coffee shop buzzed with chatter, neighbors discussing strategies over steaming mugs. Jake paced the room, waving a stack of flyers like a general readying his troops. "Let us divide into teams," he suggested, raising his voice to cut through the murmurs. "Some of us can check the places she used to go: the park, the library, the diner. Others can spread the word in town. We need to share her story. And remember, we're not just looking for a lost friend, we're showing everyone what Sarah meant to us." Excitement mixed with trepidation, and the townsfolk nodded. There was a weight to their mission, a shared responsibility to uncover the layers of the woman they had overlooked. A few moments later, they split into groups, each fueled by a desire for connection and understanding. Lily, a high school art teacher, picked up her camera. "I'll document it all," she said with determination. She understood the beauty of storytelling through images. The more we capture, the more we can share. Let us celebrate what she left behind. The teams dispersed, a sea of red and blue jackets scattering through the streets of Milltown. As they passed familiar storefronts and childhood haunts, warmth filled the air. It felt like every face told a story: some knew Sarah, others had simply seen her pass by. They shared snippets of conversation, each word a thread connecting them closer to their goal. At the park, Jake and his team started asking anyone who might know of her whereabouts. An elderly woman paused on her morning walk, squinting at the flyer in Jake's hands. "Sarah? I used to see her sitting on that bench, painting for hours. She always had a light about her. Did she say anything? Anything at all?" Jake pressed, heart racing as if they were drawing closer to the answer. The woman furrowed her brow, and after a moment she recalled. She mentioned something about disappearing into her art. Thought it might help her heal. I didn't know it would be like this. Meanwhile, at the diner, a group of volunteers shared Sarah's story with the owner, who sighed deeply. "She came here a lot, you know. Sat in the corner booth, sketching and sipping coffee. We used to chat while she waited for her order. But she felt distant. Like she was locked away in a different world." "Locked away," echoed one of the volunteers, shifting uncomfortably. The words hung in the air, amplifying the urgency of their search. How many others felt similarly trapped? As the sun began to set again, casting long shadows on the streets. News of Sarah's disappearance rippled through the community. Milltown rallied, bearing witness to the spirit of unity unfurling among them. In that gathering twilight, hope began to flicker. Each lead, each story, became a thread forming a tapestry of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, the journey would lead them to Sarah. They needed to find her, to reach out beyond the art, beyond the silence. But as night cloaked the town, an unexpected twist awaited just around the corner. Rumors began to swirl, whispers of a woman matching Sarah's description spotted on the outskirts of Milltown. Her figure, shrouded in darkness, walking into the woods. With hearts pounding, the townsfolk braced themselves for what might come next. Would they finally be able to bring her home? Or would this journey reveal deeper truths they were not prepared for? The night deepened, leaving them standing at the threshold of discovery, as the moon rose high illuminating the path they were about to take. The moon hung heavy over Milltown, its light dappling the path into the woods. Jake stood at the edge of the tree line, his breath visible in the cool night air. The urgency of the search mingled with uncertainty knotted in his stomach. To venture in was to embrace an unknown, echoing the spirals of worry that had tainted their community since Sarah's disappearance. Did anyone else see her? He asked the small group assembled behind him, their faces a mix of determination and fear. You could feel the pulse of hope and dread running through them. Each second felt heavy, each glance at the darkened woods was a silent question. What awaited them within? I heard she might be out there, whispered Leah, her voice a shaky whisper that barely broke the tension. She fiddled with the flyer in her hands, the vibrant photo of Sarah glaring up at them. But what if? What if it's not her? Then we'll know she's okay, Jake replied, forcing a smile that felt foreign on his lips. Hope flickered amidst their uncertainty. And if it is her, we'll bring her back. With a shaky nod, the group moved forward, stepping into the cool embrace of the trees. Crickets chirped a melancholic symphony as the path faded behind them, swallowed by shadows. Each footfall was a gentle echo in the quiet, a reminder that they were not alone, that they stood united in their search for Sarah and for the truth. As they pushed deeper, Jake felt a heaviness in the air, a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. Could it be possible Sarah wanted to be found, yet was hiding in silent rebellion? He recalled the whispers shared over coffee, the artistry that had once drawn her in, perhaps even the pain that had driven her away. Would this journey uncover layers of her life they had never known? Suddenly, Lily's voice broke through the darkness. Look! She held up her camera, capturing the silhouettes framed by the beams of moonlight. These moments matter. We need to hold on to the story we're weaving here. Her camera's flash startled them momentarily, but it reminded them this wasn't just about finding Sarah. It was about understanding her, connecting the missed pieces they had taken for granted. Jake nodded, feeling renewed vigor flow through him. As they pressed on, whispers of the woods wrapped around them like a shroud. The rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl nature seemed to echo their anxiety. But amidst it all, a flicker of movement caught Jake's eye. Just ahead, a figure paused among the trees, partially obscured. Was it Sarah? His heart raced. Is that? He breathed, stepping cautiously forward. The figure turned, illuminated momentarily by the beams of moonlight filtering through the branches. But before he could call out or take another breath, the shadow darted deeper into the forest, vanishing like a ghost. No! Jake shouted, desperation lacing his voice. Without thinking, he surged forward, intent on following. Wait, Jake! Lily called, her voice a commanding echo that trailed behind him. But adrenaline surged, propelling him deeper into the darkness, past the trees that loomed like sentinels guarding their secrets. What if it's really her? Jake's thoughts spiraled. But what if there was more to uncover? More than just wandering steps in the woods? Thunder rumbled in the distance, reminding him of the storm brewing not just around them, but within their hearts. What awaited him on the other side? As he pushed forward, each heartbeat echoed louder in his chest, mingling with the rustling of the leaves. Yet just as quickly as certainty had propelled him, a chilling thought crept in. What if they weren't ready for what they might find? The realization chained his feet momentarily, But it was too late. He was already knee-deep in the pursuit of Sarah, the woman who had slipped away into both art and the shadows. And somewhere, he knew, truth lay waiting. But whether it would heal or shatter them all was a question that loomed darkly ahead. Would they find the answers they sought? Or would the woods cloak their secrets forever? Jake's heart thundered in his chest as he raced through the trees, their gnarled branches reaching out like fingers trying to stop him. The moonlight filtered through the leaves, casting an eerie glow and playing tricks on his mind. Was he imagining things? Was it really Sarah he had seen, or just shadows dancing in the night? Jake, slow down. Lily's voice huffed behind him, breathless and filled with worry. She was right. He needed to focus. He turned, momentarily hesitating, the weight of the group's concern settling deep in his gut. But before he could answer, the leaves rustled again. Sarah? He called, the name escaping his lips like a prayer. Silence enveloped him. Even the crickets fell quiet as if the world was holding its breath. A low, sorrowful sound broke through the stillness, a whisper of anguish that pierced the air. It came from further into the woods, and an instinct inside him pulled him forward. Did you hear that? Jake turned back to the group, searching their faces for resolve. Yeah, it sounded like her, Leah replied, her voice trembling slightly. She stepped closer, the tightness of her voice revealing the fear that gripped her heart. Let us go. They moved as one, each footfall carrying their hope deeper into the dark embrace of the woods. The path twisted and turned, branches overhead weaving a tapestry that made the moonlight feel far away. Jake's pulse quickened with every step. Why would she call out? He wondered aloud, doubt creeping into his mind. Does she need help? Or is she hiding from us? The silence was thick around them, every shadow playing tricks. Just when Jake began to doubt his instincts, a flash of white caught his eye, a piece of cloth fluttering from a nearby tree. His heart leapt in his chest. He rushed forward, feeling a mix of dread and anticipation gnawing at him. Jake, wait! Lily shouted, but he pushed ahead, the sense of urgency taking the lead. As he grasped the fabric, a chilling realization gripped him. This was part of Sarah's shirt, torn and stained, evidence of something that had happened here. His breath hitched, and his hands shook as he turned back to the others, the fabric held tightly. This is hers! Leah gasped, her eyes wide with shock. But before anyone could voice the fear bubbling under the surface, they all heard it, footsteps crunching on the leaves, heavy and chaotic, approaching fast from multiple directions. Run! Jake shouted, panic igniting within him as he dropped the fabric and instinct took over. They darted deeper into the woods, branches clawing at their clothes while the shadows warped into menacing shapes behind them. Fear propelled them, the adrenaline surging through his veins, but as they broke through a clearing, they froze. Before them, the moonlight illuminated a small, abandoned cabin, a relic of time, walls sagging and weathered, surrounded by overgrown weeds. The atmosphere felt charged, as if a million secrets lingered in the air, yet a sense of familiarity pulled at Jake's heart. Was this where Sarah had gone? But then, his chest constricted anew. A solitary figure stood at the door, shrouded in shadow. Who's there? Jake called, voice shaking, the question echoing in the night. The figure turned slowly, and in that instant, 9 years of heartache surged within him, mingling with a flicker of hope. Jake? The voice, raw and trembling, floated through the air like a lost melody. Could it be? Stunned, his eyes widened as recognition washed over him like a tide, a heartbeat away from everything they had searched for. Sarah? With that name, the night crackled with possibility, joy trembling dangerously close to despair. But what revelations lay behind that door? As the figure stepped closer, Jake could only wonder if this moment was the beginning of answers or the unraveling of everything they thought they knew. The figure moved into the moonlight, and every doubt Jake had vanished in an instant. It was Sarah, the girl he had lost, the ghost haunting his dreams for nearly a decade. She looked different, her face marked by a softness that couldn't quite mask the shadows haunting her eyes. But it was her. The very air around them shifted, electric with the weight of unresolved emotions. Jake, she took a step forward, and his heart soared. The sound of her voice, familiar and yet so distant, wrapped around him like a warm embrace. He wanted to run to her, to hold her and never let go. But fear rooted him in place. What happened? Where have you been? His questions tumbled out in a rush, his breath shallow. We thought we lost you. Her voice cracked and she paused. Shadows danced across her face, deepening the worry etched there. I didn't want to disappear. I had to protect you. All of you. Lily, Leah, and the others moved closer, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief. But Jake didn't care about their thoughts right now. He was lost in Sarah, in the way her eyes glistened under the moonlight, filled with pain and longing. What do you mean protect us? He asked, taking a cautious step forward. From what? From who? Before she could answer, a cracking sound echoed from behind the cabin, sharp and startling. The group exchanged worried glances, the gravity of the moment both thrilling and terrifying. They stood together, in unified silence, uncertain of what waited for them beyond the threshold. The shadows lengthened, growing denser, and just like that, Sarah's expression changed. It turned from relief into something deeper fear. You shouldn't be here, she whispered urgently. I didn't want you to find me, not like this. But we can help you, Jake pleaded, his voice rising. We've been searching for so long. What can we do? Please, just tell us. I can't explain, Sarah said, her eyes darting over his shoulder as if she sensed something encroaching. Not now. You need to go. You need to leave this place before it's too late. The trees behind them rustled, and a chill twisted down Jake's spine. A dark presence loomed just beyond the clearing, hidden in the shadows. Panic surged through his blood again, pumping urgency into his limbs. But Jake felt the temptation to step closer to Sarah, to reach for her hand, to bring her back into the fold of their lives. What about you? We can't leave you here. Listen to me. Sarah's voice escalated, fierce yet tinged with desperation. You have to trust me. If you don't leave now, you'll be caught in the same web I am. Tension crackled in the air as they stood frozen, hearts pounding as the shadows shifted ominously around them. It felt like everything teetered on the brink. Jake's mind raced, trying to comprehend the situation, every instinct screaming at him not to abandon her. But the noise behind them grew louder, a cacophony of branches snapping, the unmistakable sound of something dangerous. Jake turned to the others, their faces mirroring his own conflict. What do we do? Do we go or stay? Leah whispered, fear lacing her words. Jake felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. An old part of him screamed to protect Sarah, while the other part knew they couldn't afford to walk deeper into the unknown. And just as he opened his mouth to respond, adrenaline surged through him like a jolt of electricity. The darkness surged forward, spilling out from the trees. Run! He yelled, adrenaline overtaking him, as fear dripped from his voice. But as they turned, Jake's gaze lingered on Sarah one last time. Would leaving mean saying goodbye forever? Or was this truly a sacrifice they had to make? With uncertainty knotting his stomach, he bolted into the night, the weight of what was lost pressing down hard behind him. Where would this decision lead them? Was Sarah truly in danger? The regret cut deep, but survival pushed them forward. And with every agonizing heartbeat, Jake felt the echo of what-ifs chasing them into the dark. What awaited them on the other side of the woods? What secrets still lingered in the shadows? The forest loomed around them, branches clawing toward the night sky as if trying to ensnare the fading light. Each step Jake took felt heavier than the last, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his chest. The darkness pulsed behind him like a living thing, angry and relentless. Keep moving! He shouted, urging the others forward, glancing over his shoulder as the sounds of snapping twigs grew closer. Fear twisted in his gut. Would they actually escape? Would Sarah be safe? Lily stumbled beside him, her breath coming in harsh gasps. What was that? She managed to choke out, her voice laced with panic. I don't know. Jake barked back, the words spilling out with urgency. They had to focus. They had to survive. But every thought of leaving Sarah behind sliced through him like cold steel. They ran deeper into the woods, the moonlight filtering through the trees, casting ghostly patterns on the ground. Jake was trying to process it all, the joy of finding Sarah, the threat lurking in the shadows, and the helplessness of leaving her there. As they navigated the winding path, Leah tripped and fell, her cry piercing the night. Jake turned just in time to see her hit the ground, but before he could reach her, she hopped back up, a determined look on her face. "I'm okay, let us go," she insisted, brushing dirt from her jeans, but Jake could see the fear radiating from her, a mirror of his own torment. They pushed on, adrenaline coursing through their veins, still hearing rustling sounds behind them. The heaviness of regret weighed on Jake like a boulder. What if they never saw Sarah again? They broke into a clearing, the open space momentarily disorienting. Jake stopped, planting his feet as he caught his breath, scanning the area. The others slowed, catching up to him, each one of them laden with unspoken emotions. "What if we go back?" Leah whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "We can find her. We have to." "Jake," Lily added, her voice trembling. "You've seen what she's gone through. What if she's in real danger?" Jake's heart ached at the thought. He wanted to believe they could help her, to fight whatever was threatening her, but the shadows seemed to stretch and loom with a life of their own. "We can't," he finally said, voice firm but hollow. "We can't go back. It's too risky, and if we get caught," he faltered, thinking of the implications. "She told us to run. We have to trust her." But trust felt like a flimsy thread when weighed against the heavy burden of one's heart, the heart that still longed for Sarah. Before they could debate further, a chilling howl cut through the air, echoing ominously throughout the trees. It was followed by the unmistakable sound of pursuit, the snapping of branches, chilling rustles inching closer. "Move!" Jake shouted, breaking into a sprint again, urging the others to follow. The night seemed alive with danger as they pushed forward, with each noise behind them making their blood run cold. As they ran, Jake's thoughts flickered back to the last words he'd heard from Sarah. "You shouldn't be here." Something deeper lurked beneath that warning, something bigger than them both. It felt like a secret entwined with her disappearance. They finally reached the base of a small hill, tumbling to the ground, breathless. Jake looked around, eyes wide with dread. What now? They might have escaped for the moment, but he felt the weight of something still lurking out there, waiting for them. He couldn't shake the feeling that their ordeal was only beginning. And then, just as dawn began to break, painting the sky in soft shades of orange, Jake spotted a flicker of movement just beyond the tree line. Someone or something was watching them. What was that? Leah hissed, rising nervously to her feet. It was then that Jake knew this journey was far from over. Sarah might be vanished for 10 years, but now the shadows were chasing them all, and the truth was just beginning to unfold. What other secrets lay buried in the darkness? Would facing them reveal more than they were ready for? Jake's heart raced as he squinted into the dense underbrush, where the flicker of movement seemed to blend into the shadows. Whatever or whoever was watching them felt like a predator, its presence a cold weight in the pit of his stomach. The air was thick with tension, and he could feel his friend's eyes darting nervously, echoing his own unease. "Stay close," he whispered, his voice barely more than a breath. He didn't want to show fear, but inside, he felt like a storm was brewing. Lily nodded, pressing closer to him, while Leah remained on alert, scanning the dark corners of the tree line. "Jake," Leah began cautiously, her voice trembling slightly. What if it's Sarah?" The thought cut through him. The slim hope that it could be her made his heart flip, but the reality was heavier. "If it is," he said, trying to sound resolute even as doubt gnawed at him, "she wouldn't want us to stay here." "Why wouldn't she?" Lily interjected, her brows knitting together. "She's been missing, gone for 10 years. We have to." Before she could finish, the rustling grew louder, branches cracking underfoot. It sounded close, and Jake instinctively took a step back, pulling Lily and Leah closer to him. He couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away. They couldn't afford to hesitate. "Let us backtrack," Leah urged, eyes wide and panicked. "We can find another way out." "We need to know," Jake snapped, cutting her off. "Running is only going to draw it closer. We have to find a place to hide." As they debated, the anxiety hanging in the air like fog thickened, wrapping around them. Suddenly, a figure burst into view, stepping from the shadows, and Jake's breath caught in his throat. A silhouette emerged, pale against the dark trees. It was too thin, too ethereal to be real. For a moment, Jake thought he'd lost his mind. But as the figure stepped closer, he saw a face, and recognition jolted through him. This was no mirage. It was Sarah. "Jake!" she cried, her voice a mix of relief and terror. "You shouldn't be here!" His heart thundered in his chest. "We came to find you!" he shouted back, desperation threading through his voice. He stepped forward, but the way she recoiled made him freeze. "What happened? Where have you been? I'm not safe here." She looked around as if expecting shadows to leap from the trees. "You have to go. All of you. Please." It was as if a dam had broken inside him. "We can't leave you." The thought of abandoning her again twisted like a knife. "Listen to her," Leah urged, her voice frantic. "She knows more than we do. She's telling us this for a reason." Not like this. Jake felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. "We can't just leave you after all this time." Tears brimmed in her eyes. "You don't understand. There's something out here, something dangerous. I thought it was gone, but it's been waiting, and now it knows you're here." As the urgency of her words sank in, an unexplainable presence swirled around them, a cold chill that made each hair on Jake's body stand on end. The distant rustling crescendoed into a deafening roar, voices rising from the darkness, echoing Sarah's warning. They heard the snap of branches behind them, and Jake felt the ground shake beneath him. The realization crashed over him like a wave. They didn't just come to find Sarah. They were being hunted, and they were running out of time. "Run! Now!" Sarah shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos, a lifeline thrown in the dark. The group turned instinctively, driven by raw fear. But Jake hesitated for a fraction of a heartbeat, torn between the desperate need to save Sarah and the need to survive for the others. Would they trust her warnings, or would it be too late? Jake took one last look at Sarah, and in that moment she became both his strength and his burden, a thread of fate binding them together. As the darkness surged toward them, as they fled deeper into the woods, he wondered what kind of danger awaited them in the shadows. And could they outpace not only the horrors lurking in the trees but the haunting past that seemed to consume them all? Panic surged through Jake as they sprinted through the underbrush, branches clawing at them as if the very woods were alive. He could hear Leah's heavy breathing and Lily's panicked whispers behind him, but the sound that drowned everything out was the rush of his own heart. "Which way?" Leah gasped, glancing back despite Sarah's desperate plea to keep moving forward. The darkness felt alive, pressing in around them, and every rustle seemed to grow louder, closer. "Any direction but back," Jake shouted, his voice raw with urgency. He could still see Sarah's wide eyes, pleading with them to escape. But the weight of their memories together of who she was and who she had become made it hard to breathe. They veered left, pushing through the underbrush as the sounds grew louder. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, but he forced himself to concentrate on the path ahead. He had to protect Lily and Leah, and despite the mounting fear, he couldn't shake the thought of Sarah. What had happened to her out there? Why had she gone missing? "Jake!" Lily's voice broke through his thoughts. He turned to find her at a halt, frozen as if something invisible held her in place. What if we can't escape? We have to try." He reached for her hand, pulling her back into motion. The forest was no longer just a backdrop. It was a labyrinth of danger filled with memories and entwined fates. Ahead, he spotted a clearing. He could see the moonlight shining through the trees, illuminating an old, abandoned shack. "In there. We can hide," he yelled and pushed them forward. Leah hesitated for just a moment, a shadow crossing her face. "It could be worse inside, better than out here," Jake insisted, edging them toward the frail wooden structure. They'd be able to catch their breath, figure out what to do next for Sarah's sake. As they reached the door, an eerie creak echoed in the silence. The interior was dim, with old furniture shrouded in dust, but it felt safer than the chaos outside. They rushed in and Jake slammed the door shut, the wood groaning like a living thing. He leaned against it, chest heaving, their breaths mingling in the stale air. "What now?" Leah whispered, her voice trembling. "We regroup," Jake replied, his eyes scanning the room. "Sarah said something dangerous is out here, but we need more information to figure it out." Lily was rummaging through a nearby drawer, her fingers brushing over old papers. "There's gotta be something in here," she said, determination reigniting in her eyes. As she lifted a stack of brittle pages, a photograph slipped out and fluttered to the floor. Jake bent to pick it up, and his heart sank as he recognized the faces. A younger Sarah sat smiling with another girl who looked eerily familiar. "Who's this?" he asked, holding the photo up. The girl's gaze seemed to follow him, a knowing look frozen in time. "I don't know, but she looks like she's from this area," Leah replied, squinting at the picture. A chill raced through Jake. Should we find more information about her? Before they could respond, the ground beneath them vibrated again, an ominous tremor that rattled the dust from the rafters. "What was that?" Lily asked, gripping Jake's arm. "Something's coming," he whispered, fear creeping back in, echoing Sarah's warnings. They stood, hearts pounding, as the door began to splinter under the pressure of whatever was outside, a relentless force eager to break in. "Jake, we need to get out now!" Leah screamed, panic rising. But which way could they run? The shadows whispered promises of danger all around. As the weak door buckled inward, Jake knew they had to decide fast, face whatever hunted them or try to flee blindly into the night. "Whatever we do it together," he said, voice steady despite the chaos. With a shared look of determination, they took a breath. Would their bond be enough to guide them to safety? And as the door burst open, revealing nothing but darkness, they prepared for the unknown that awaited them outside. What secrets were buried in the shadows, and would they be able to confront what lay ahead? The door splintered, flying off its hinges like a leaf in a storm. A wall of darkness flooded in, thick and suffocating. Jake's heart raced, the fear of what lay beyond mixing with the stubborn hope that still clung to the memory of Sarah. Lily's voice broke through his thoughts. "We need to make a choice, now." Jake glanced back at Leah, whose eyes were wide with terror. "We can't go deeper into the woods. We need to find a road." He fought against the dread creeping up his spine. The shadows shifted, moving like smoke, curling toward them with an ominous intent. "On the count of 3, Jake said, trying to be the anchor in a turbulent sea. 1, 2, 3. He bolted forward, pulling Lily and Leah with him into the night, the shack collapsing behind them in the chaos. They raced through the underbrush, heart pounding, adrenaline surging. Each step felt like pushing against a heavy tide of fear and uncertainty. But with every stride, something flickered just ahead, a hint of light through the trees. Hope lit a fire inside him. Could that be the road? "Keep going!" he shouted, pushing them onward. As they approached the clearing, the trees fell away. They emerged into a wide open space, familiar yet hauntingly different. The town lay just beyond, bathed in the soft light of dawn, as if it welcomed them back with open arms. But with it came an unsettling feeling in the pit of his stomach. "Is that the main road?" Leah asked, uncertainty creeping into her tone. "Yes," Jake breathed, relief flooding through him. But just as they stepped forward, a chilling howl cut through the air. They halted, every instinct screaming to stay hidden. Lily looked around, fear etched across her face. "What is it?" Jake squinted into the shadows beyond the trees. "It's here, it's still coming." In that heartbeat, doubt bubbled up anew. "What if we didn't just run away?" he whispered. "What if we had stayed with Sarah?" His heart ached at the thought of leaving her behind. What good would that have done? Leah countered, brushing tears from her cheek. "She told us to go for a reason." The howl sounded again, closer this time. A primal instinct urged them to flee, but Jake felt the pull of Sarah lingering, her presence woven into the very fabric of his existence. Another shadow lingered at the edge of the clearing. Now! He shouted, leading the way across the road, toward Milltown and the possibility of safety. They rushed to the familiar streets where neighbors would soon be stirring, where love and community could shield them from the unknown. As they burst onto the sidewalk, they stumbled to a stop. All around them, the sun began to rise, golden light painting the town in soft hues. But the sense of normalcy felt fragile, and the victory bittersweet. "Is she okay?" Leah whispered, a lingering ache in her chest. "We couldn't leave her if she is still in danger," Jake said softly, determination flaring again. "We need to make a plan. We can't let fear rule us." The conversation turned animated, filled with shouts of determination as they gathered their friends, family, and anyone willing to join the search. New flyers adorned with Sarah's paintings sprinkled the town, art threads connecting the community through her legacy. Jake looked at the faces around him, neighbors willing to fight, to treasure Sarah's spirit. Love swirled together in that crowded space, igniting passion and unity. They shared hopes and fears, promising to fight side by side and bring Sarah back, not just the nurse they thought they knew, but the artist full of dreams and pain. As the shadows receded and the town buzzed with life, Jake felt something shift within him, a knowledge that they were not just searching for Sarah, but reclaiming their own stories, their own lives. A day passed like a heartbeat, filled with laughter and cries of solidarity. Each moment weaving a tapestry of resilience, until at last, the tender light of evening fell upon Milltown. In that fading sunlight, they gathered again at the park, ready to do what had to be done. They held hands, a circle of love enveloping them, a living testament to what Sarah had ignited within them. "This time, we will be seen," Jake declared, painting bold strokes of hope against the twilight. And as the last light flickered alongside the horizon, soft whispers surrounded them, echoing dreams of clarity and understanding, as if Sarah was guiding them back home. "Here's to Sarah," Lily lifted her voice, and everyone echoed, the warmth of their unity embracing the night, a beacon against the shadows that threatened to encroach again. Together they lit candles, placed them carefully on the ground, illuminating their intentions like stars scattered across a canvas. In that moment, they knew they would embrace the shadows, inviting them into their lives, for every story must be honored. They were ready to protect and support one another, each flickering hope telling Sarah's story, the life that had been hidden for far too long. And true to their promise, come dawn, they would venture into those woods once more, searching not just for a lost friend but also for the luminous connection they had found within themselves. Together, they would weave a tapestry of their stories, shining light in the darkest of places. As the candles flickered, Jake spotted movement in the distance, a familiar figure stepping forward, lighter than air, with eyes of wonder. It was Sarah, and the moment of reunion held the promise of healing the canvas of their lives, forever changing together. Now is the moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really makes a difference for us. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. What were your hopes? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's spread hope together.